Well, welcome to today's episode. This is Wesley Smith with Tree Service Marketing Profits Podcast. And have another episode today with somebody that's affiliated with the tree care industry that I think offers a very unique and valuable product to the industry. And we wanted to have them on. I actually met these guys at TCIA a couple of weeks ago. Anybody listening, you might have been there as well. So I met Doug, and now his wife, Michelle, is going to be joining us today for the podcast for Pink Collars. And I'll let them kind of tell their story and get busy with kind of what they go through and kind of how they help the tree care industry. But first, if you're watching this from YouTube, go ahead and click to subscribe to our channel. We got plenty more interviews coming up, more content to help your business grow, and other valuable team members you can insert into your business to help your business grow. And then if you're on the podcast listening audio wise, just subscribe to our podcast there. But we'll get right into it. Doug and Michelle, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. And a thanks back to TCIA. You were the one that walked up and said, I need to know what this is about. So to anyone using your service, please know this guy goes after it. And I really appreciate that about you, Wes. So who we are and what we do, we just look at the office role as something that should really help any business generate revenue in what they do. So we look to customer service. It's a need no matter really what type industry you're in, and how that customer experience into the business can matter. Most people look at it as, oh, well, I've got to answer my phone or I've got emails piling up, all of that. We really want to take a proactive approach at the customer service role and really be able to help it generate, like I said, revenue for the business. So Pink Collars offers 100% remote office admin, and we call it a solution because what we're really trying to do is solve a problem for the business right there at that first interaction with their customer.
Got it. So just to clarify, just for me and for the audience listening too. So basically, you guys take it way farther than just answering the phones. You guys are a full partner for the business as far as like their leads that come in, putting it into their current CRM system, whether that's Jobber, a couple of other ones that you guys are very familiar with, and probably open to adding other ones in case maybe you haven't used them before.
Absolutely.
They're all seemingly a little bit similar, right? Like, so you kind of can.
They're all very similar, and they all have transaction at the end, right? So the whole process is putting the lead in, getting them to the estimate portion of your process with your business, getting them to the appointment, and then invoicing them and getting paid. So we take that customer through that entire journey on your CRM of choice. And we work on Single Ops, Arbor Gold, Jobber, LMN. There's a whole ton of them. Everybody that was at TCIA we work with. And then our website has all of the brands that we support. And if there's something on there you see that you want us to work with, just reach out because
don't see,
because we love learning new technology out there. We think that's really a cool thing, especially for folks in the tree industry. So we'll take it on the chin and learn the software for you and get you all set up. So we love that part.
And that Michelle brings up a great point. We build that bridge as well. I always like to share with folks that talk about us, and I hate to say it, but technology is a big, scary word, right? We don't want to talk about technology.
Especially when you're a tree care company sometimes.
I mean, and I totally respect it. We want to run the chainsaw. We want to be in the truck. We want to do all of the fun things. And the customer service part is hard, or the learning that technology or software. We face a lot of that challenge. And what I always like to tell people is we can actually help battle that and be the expert for you. You can do what you want to do. Let us handle that part of it and really, again, be able to help generate more business for the business.
Well, I think that's super important because we see this a lot too. Like, we work with some larger tree companies. They got 2, 3, 4 crews, sometimes 5 crews. And until you really systematize and organize the business, and whether that be from inbound calls, inbound leads, putting them into the CRM and scheduling and follow-ups with the customer and invoicing and estimates and all these different things that you've got to do, it's really hard to see what your business is doing day to day, hour by hour, month to month, quarter to quarter. And so I think that super important point is to just organize it, make sure that you take the lead coming in, or the call, however it looks, put it in the system, schedule it on the calendar for, whether it's an estimate or if it's just to do tree maintenance work or whatever. And that way it takes this huge thing off the business owner. And they don't really necessarily have to hire an employee to get that done. Or maybe they've had headaches with that. Maybe they've hired people and they've left the business and that person knew how to use the CRM and now they don't anymore, right? So then now they got to hire somebody new and they've got to get familiar with it. Whereas you guys, they have a dedicated, probably account manager for their particular business. And if there's any sort of gap there or anything else, there's probably somebody else that can step in and back them up. Is that kind of how it operates or kind of how it works?
Absolutely.
It is. We're a team-based system. So you get one dedicated CSR. We call them customer service rock stars. So CSR or customer service rep runs your phones and your email and your live chat and your Facebook Messenger all day long, managing all of that incoming channel traffic from your customers to you. And then that person takes care of all of the customer journey. And if they're out sick or they have a sick child or something comes up in their life, we have a regional manager that takes over for them for that period of time. And that regional manager is somebody that's onboarded your company. So you have a relationship with them, you're familiar with that person. So when you look at our model and our pricing, you're really kind of getting two people for the price of one, which is really cool.
Well, and then the sort of B side to that, I call it, is we work with lots of different companies all across the country. We get a different lens that we get to look through on how business operates. So it's fun for us as business owners to watch our team members serve their clients. And they're like, hey, well, I'm struggling with this one thing with my customer that I'm working for or my client that I'm working for. Who has experience? And we get to watch our team members share ideas back and forth with each other in how to raise the bar. So we bring a lot to the table in just the fact that we see a lot from other businesses in how things should operate better. So I always tell people we're trying to make your wheel run better. I don't want to reinvent your wheel. I just want to make it run better.
Yeah, more organized, more efficient. And gosh, we see this all the time. So we have some clients that are getting 100, 150, 200 calls and leads per month, right? And this could be a combination from their website, from their Google My Business map listing, from their ads, from their retargeting, from all these different channels, right? They're just coming in all over the place. One missed call could be a $10,000 job. So
Absolutely.
if you guys are definitely monitoring that, you're on that, you're getting it, and then B, putting it in the system to where everybody sees the lead and now they're a new contact in the system. This goes so far over the course of 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. After that amount of time, I mean, people have probably touched base with 3,000, 5,000, up to 10,000 people in their local market. And so by building that database and staying consistent with something like that, your list builds up and you can get a lot more repeat business because we have some clients who do email marketing to their database. And it's usually something simple like a blog post that we turn into an email newsletter or something, but there's also a call to action to schedule an appointment or something like that. But we see that, like we've got one client in Springfield, Virginia area, and I think they have like 15,000 people in their database, right?
Wow.
So I mean, that email goes out, even if it only gets 20% open rate, which today is pretty good, then that's what, 3,000 people that see the email. I mean, they're getting appointments after appointments, something like that. So I think that's key and critical to just long-term longevity and growing your business is organization, don't miss calls. And then also, I guess, two, is just that really good customer service feel. So if you guys got trained like people on the phones that just sound really happy to talk to people, I think that's big. Like I did a podcast episode a couple of months ago, or maybe a couple of weeks ago on good old-fashioned customer service. Like where's that gone, right?
I love
If you guys
it.
offer that, you're going to be head and shoulders above the local competition already.
And that's what everybody wants, right? We're all old enough, the gray hair should give it away, that we know what old-fashioned customer service should sound like. Unfortunately, we live in this society that's dominated by this thing, and I call it the one-click society. We're all one click away from finding the answer we want. So if you can make that moment in time when a customer is calling a business, stand still for them and realize there is something different about this company. There was a kind, friendly voice on the phone. They answered my questions. They solved my problem. They let me feel like I mattered. They're never going to go.
I'm not bothering them by calling them a couple of times or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we really want to get out in front of it and be proactive about it. And unfortunately, a lot of, the answering service type companies or call centers really just become a bottleneck for the business. They don't solve the problem. And that's where we want to approach it a different way.
I like that. Yeah, that's good. And you guys are probably scalable too, I would imagine. So you maybe start here, with what their current volume is or their current needs are. And then as they grow, as they get more calls, more leads, because sometimes we're adding a crew, and in order to add another crew and pay for this overhead for that particular business, we're going to need X amount of calls and an X amount of appointments. So I'm sure you guys can keep up with additional lead flow. It's one full-time, I guess, person that helps with their business, very familiar with everything, is how it starts.
It is. And we do have several tree service clients that have a person and a half-time person, part-time person, or 2 people on their account. So we can scale with individual or part-time association or support based on what the company needs.
And even think the level beyond that. It's taking the pressure off of them and trying to find the next person and then retraining that person. And we have all of it in place. We document everything. We know the software. So we can really hit the ground running a lot faster when it comes to scaling than most folks can do on their own.
I can see that. Totally. Yeah. And so I guess the next question is with pink collars. I mean, you guys are doing all these great services. I think we probably kind of answered a lot of this already, but if you guys want to go into more detail, like how do you differentiate yourself from other so-called call answering services out there? I've heard of a few. I can't think of the names off the top of my head. I mean, there's some that just answer the phone, right? That's all they do for $300 a month or $500, whatever your call volume is. But we all know they're not very consistent. Your person that's answering the phone's not there the next month, or they've just got a rotation of 20 people that answer the phones, and sometimes they're answering incorrectly because they're doing it for 50 businesses. So I guess, how do you guys differentiate from those types of lower cost services, perhaps, or just cookie cutter services type things? If you guys,
Well, we believe you get what you pay for, and we believe that we offer something that is highly trained, highly skilled, highly scalable. And that individual, we feed a lot into that individual. We celebrate birthdays. We have an incredible culture. We celebrate anniversaries. We have games and fun, and we have an entire Slack communication system in which they are a part of a community. So if you're a tree service that is really focused on the guys in the field and the gals in the field and your customers, you don't maybe have time to nurture and feed into that person in your office. So we bring that with us when we come, and that one individual does become part of your culture as much as you want to include them. We have several of our people that run weekly team meetings for their clients where they get on Zoom just like we are now, and all the folks are in the work office and they're all talking and they take notes and make sure that everything's documented for the owner. And that is such a massive help because they become a part of the team and they become a part of the culture, and they're utilizing their best skill, which is documenting everything for our owners. So that's something that we really differentiate ourselves from, because it's one person, and then bringing that culture around that person to support them in case you don't have time. We also bring that, which I think makes people happier. And you hear that telegraphs through to your customers on the phone when they're calling and your person's happy and loving their work. You can feel it. You can hear it.
I'll throw this out there. Wherever you're listening to this from right now, stop and think about this one thing. You have called a company somewhere along your journey and gotten a call center, and we all know what they sound like. Stop and think about that for a second. It's a room full of people. It's loud. There's a buzz going on. You don't feel like anyone's quite committed to you. I call it cubicle city, right? It's just a big, loud room full of people, and it's a free-for-all. You have no relationship with that person as a consumer. But then that person answering the call has no relationship with the business either. They're just taking messages. They could care less. We're standing in that gap where we know the business owner, we know their team, we know their family, we know their pains and cares and concerns and worries sometimes. And we want to help them through it and be a voice for them, because really they started a business to be passionate about the business, right? They want to be in the tree, or they want to be a plumber, or in the field, or wherever they want to be. They want to do that. And we want to feed that in them and allow them to do that and take this big load off of their shoulder in really saying, hey, we've got the customer service part of this. You go grow the business and we're going to work as a team together. I think that's what sets us apart.
That's a huge value. And we've all done that before too, because I've called and gotten a call center, right? And you've left detailed information, and then basically somebody calls you back or they don't call you back. But then if you call again a day or 2 days later, you get somebody different and they don't even have a clue what you spoke about 3 days ago, not one clue. So everybody's experienced that. I know I have several times on different occasions for different services I've even purchased or ordered myself. So I can see how that'd be a huge benefit. And not only that, but you guys are helping them organize their business, systematize their business, because there's no way to grow your tree service business if you're still doing like paper stuff. I guess you can. People have. I can't say no way, but
it's hard though.
It's very hard, and it's disorganized, and you can't find this and you can't find that. So with everything plugged into the same place on, one of these single ops or Arbor Gold or Arbostar, Job, or whatever the case may be, whatever system they may be in, you guys are the experts on that system. They don't really have to necessarily know it in and out. They probably need to know a little bit about it, but other than that, and that way all the crews are on the same page with the software. They have their app on the phone, and you guys are just there to take care of that for them and kind of be there. If they have any questions, they can probably work with your team member on helping them probably figure out things too that they get bottlenecked on, I would assume.
Absolutely.
I'll give you even one more like detailed example. What so many people struggle with is time management, their schedule.
Yes.
Right. And the tree industry reminds me of this every time I talk about it, in that, I hear guys come to us and it's like, oh, it's such a struggle. I have to go home at night and I grab all the messages and then I try and call people back and I realize, oh gosh, I was just in that area today. Had I known, or had I picked up that call, we hear that and see that all the time where we're managing that schedule. If a call comes in and we understand that business owner is in this part of the town and somebody's 2 blocks away, let's make that appointment happen. Let's get it in there. We can manage that and manipulate it around, again, be an opportunity for them to close more business. So being proactive about it and not the bottleneck, I think, again, is just money in the bank.
Well, I see that too, because there's sometimes we unfortunately work with folks who are missing a third or 40% of their inbound calls. And so maybe they're doing enough business where those things just maybe don't quite matter quite as much. But I know that if they did have that taken care of and somebody dedicated for that position doing that stuff, then you can make those types of key decisions that, okay, let me go get this new truck. Let me go get this new chipper. Let me go hire this new crew and get that going. Because we've got these 20 or 30 some odd calls that we're not getting. I'm sure we can monetize that and probably get 10 to 15 more jobs out of that. 100%. So it just makes them more organized and they can understand their numbers a little bit better, because you can't make those kind of big decisions until you really know your numbers. And that's what you guys are going to help them with too. And just to clarify too, like your calling service and just organizational service and office service, like you guys call out to the customers too. Hey, look, we're on the way, or you texting or doing things like that too, correct?
Yeah, we do all inbound and outbound communication based on their volume, what they need. And it's important to do that outbound because, calls do come in at night, calls do come in over the weekends. We work 8 to 5 in every time zone, just like a traditional employee. We are working on adding overnight hours, and that's something we're strategizing on this year for our company. But for now, we work 8 to 5, just like a normal business in every time zone in the country.
Awesome. Yeah. So they get a dedicated person, no matter what their time zone is. Somebody's going to plug in, be ready to go every single day, get that, like you said, heavy lifting part done. You know what I mean? And getting people on the schedule, keeping everybody busy and all that good stuff. Well, awesome. What other things do you guys have anything on the horizon maybe that you guys are coming up with? Or, I think it's great what you guys offer. Sounds like you guys will help out these business owners a lot.
I think just the overnight and weekend coverage is something we're getting a lot of requests for. So we're working on that. We've been working on it for a while. It's a big ask because finding people that are willing to work those hours and really good quality people has been the challenge. So we're just looking for the right fit. And that's important to us. We don't like to make huge moves until we have the right people in place. And that's really our why. And I think that's important for business owners to understand who we are and why we do what we do. We do it because we want to provide at-home work opportunities for professionals that work at home, caregivers, parents, any other thing that they may have in their life. If we support that in them, then they absolutely give it back to our clients innumerably. And I lost the word, but they just give it back in spades, right? They just give back so much because we care so much for them. So our why is really about the people that we employ. And then the clients that we serve are right there with them. But those people are really what makes it all happen every day.
The greatest compliment that we can ever get is that, I have clients that pick up the phone and just call me randomly and say, I have never had this much time before in my business. I've gotten calls from spouses saying, thank you. My husband hasn't taken me on a date in 3 years, and he now finally has the time, or he doesn't get to my kids' soccer games or ballet lessons or whatever. And to be able to give the freedom to the business owner and not have to worry about this part of the business is something very close to our heart. It means a lot to us because this is the backbone of our country, the good old entrepreneurial spirit, right? And we want to feed that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I guess let's paint a little quick picture for the business owner that maybe they've been around 3, 4, 5 years, even more, and they're starting to get busy. And what you guys are describing, I think, is super important. Is they need somebody dedicated for this position because they're spending too many hours. And again, going back to what we talked about 10 minutes ago, when they get home and then there's all these new leads that have came in and perhaps they were right next door to this job, they could have just went and gave that estimate, but they just didn't get time to call that person or get the lead. Well, then they can't call them at 8, 9 p.m. at night, right? So then you got to wait till the next day. And then every hour that goes by, they're less likely to get that lead or that person back on the phone because they're simply just going to call somebody else, right? So let's say you're a smaller company, because a lot of the audience that we have, maybe they're growing, they got one main crew, maybe they even have 2 crews, but they're still trying to kind of juggle this thing themselves. And I think what you mentioned is so important. Get your time back and focus on what you're good at, which is running the crews, making sure safety is, everything's going on in the field the way it needs to be. But this is all just handled. So like maybe, I guess they can start at a certain point with you guys, right? Like, so they're maybe at a point where they've got one main crew, they're looking to kind of branch off, get that next set of equipment for the second crew, but they need this tackled. So I guess they would call you guys, kind of go over what they want to do and maybe start at some point and just kind of explain like what that looks like for them, taking that off their shoulders. I mean, that's got to be incredible.
Yeah, no, it's great.
For them.
Well, you can reach out to us on our website, pinkcollars.com, super easy. And it's spelled CALLERS, like call on the phone. And back in the good old days, there was white collar and blue collar, and the admin services portion of the workforce was called pink collars. Like that's what they were called. So it was that's where the name came from primarily in the 40s, 50s. Yeah. So it's a throwback and a kind of a word play on that name. Folks can reach out to us, and keep in mind that the beauty of our service is that if you have a yard with your equipment or you're working out of your home, trying to hire an admin in-house might not be a possibility for you. You may not want somebody in your living room or in your basement or at your work site. That may not be the best spot for that person.
We see that pretty often, yes.
Yeah, and so you don't have to have overhead or an office. You don't have to buy a computer. You don't have to train anyone, support them, pay their payroll taxes. All of those great things are just wiped out of your understanding. You don't have to think about any of it. You just plug and play. So it's really nice. We are a full-time service, so we do start at full 40 hours a week. So there are a few benchmarks financially that you need to meet to work with us that we found successful, but tree industry guys are mavericks. And so we love mavericks, and we love people that are out to just change things. And so we want to hear from everybody, because TCIA and tree care is where we started, and we love coming back to our roots. So please reach out, and there's not a bad answer at all. We'll say yes almost all the time. Just come to us and we'll figure it out. And
what I always like to say, Wes, real quick, is that let's put the target on the wall. Whether you're ready or not, let's still identify where you're at now. Whether you meet that sort of financial benchmark, we want to talk about that, understand where you're at. It's not that we're saying no, we want to be respectful and understand that maybe we're not an affordable option right now, but what do we need to get in place to get you there? And sometimes having a target on the wall to shoot at is the only direction that we need. And a lot of times people just flounder around, and it's like they may see a number or they may think, well, oh gosh, I can't afford that. Let's talk about that. Let's understand where you're at, because there may be just a small switch to turn that could open up their thinking that, gosh, I never even thought about that before.
Yeah,
So,
mindset shift, just thinking about it a different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what we're seeing out there is a lot of these big franchise owners are coming in and buying up small companies because they know that this efficiency and this traction isn't happening, but the book of business is massive. So compress your time by outsourcing smartly with a company like ours, a good bookkeeper and an outsourced company like ours. Literally, the sky's the limit for your business, because you're not dragging yourself down trying to feed and nurture and understand and train this role. You can just outsource it and move on to the next thing, and your business will scale and pay for it immediately. Trust me, we pay for ourselves every day.
Yeah, I think doing it earlier rather than later is a great idea.
Yeah,
and
true.
like you said, I mean, systematizing it, whether they're at 50 calls a month coming in lead wise, or whether they're at 150 calls a month lead wise, or, you know, whatever coming in, it's going to be a good fit as long as they can kind of just maybe commit, stick to it, make sure that, you know, they have somebody in place for that, because your time is so invaluable when you're in business, and you can't go and increase 50% or double or triple your business if you don't start plugging people in to take care of the heavy lifting on certain items in your business. I mean, everybody gets to that bottleneck stage at some point in their business, and they know they need to do something. They're just maybe not quite sure exactly what they need to do. I mean, I've been there, right? So we're growing as well. So there's just different pieces you've got to put in place. And if you don't take those steps and take those strides, then you just can't do it. So I think earlier rather than later. So they reach out to you guys, maybe have that conversation about where they're at, what their goals may be. And sometimes we're having those conversations too on the marketing side, because we know how many calls it's going to take to maybe, you know, add another crew, add another 2 crews, whatever that case may be. So that's something that you guys would proactively want to talk to them about, probably up front, make sure kind of they're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We have clients that have taken 2, 3, sometimes 4 years to get to us.
Yeah.
Because we started that conversation. I see them every year at TCIA, and they're like, well, I'm a little bit closer, and we just determined not yet.
Yeah.
And then when the time was right, their business like doubled, almost tripled in a year.
Yeah.
Just because they got all of the right pieces in place. So having the conversation completely free, nothing's wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's a great tool to use on your behalf. Reach out to us. We want to have those conversations, get to know people, and really help just guide and direct.
That's awesome. Yeah, because if you're not already the expert on your CRM system or answering the phones or whatever, then you've got to become the expert first before you can hire somebody to kind of train them on how to do it. Whereas conversely, if they use you guys or call you guys are going to figure that out, get that systematized. We already have it figured out. You just systematize it, plug it in for their unique, specific business, their market, their goals, and then they're off to the races. Whereas it may take somebody else 6 months to come in and get up to speed on everything. You guys are going to have that out of the gate. Just a huge time saver. And it's going to allow them to know their numbers, going to be able to grow better, and all of those different things. Because like I said, I mean, sometimes people probably don't even need more calls coming in than they already have. They're just missing a third or 40, 50% of them.
Yeah,
we see that all the time.
Yeah. And storing all of that information. The data is king today. You know, you're a marketing guy. Data is king. And so many people think, well, my business is only worth what I'm actually doing on the ground. And your business is really worth a lot more to that if you can build that data. How many people reach out to you? How many people are you touching? How many can you communicate? 5,000 versus 15,000 is a completely different business. And most people pass up keeping that information and being able to touch people constantly. Hey, did you know we do this? Can we reach out and sell other services? I think is invaluable at the end of the day.
Yeah, because a lot of people, what we see, they have a database of people they've done business with, perhaps in their QuickBooks account. Oh, here's all of our customers right here. Well, what about the other 10,000 people you've given estimates to over the last 10 years? Are they in your database too? So I think that's a huge point, is that it's not just the people that have paid you an invoice. It's also people that you've given an estimate to. They know your brand, they know your business. Maybe they just weren't ready to buy at that moment, or whatever happened where it just fell through the cracks. Well, you've got them stored in your database, right? And you guys are putting that in there, constantly building that. And we see that too. It's just a whole nother line in the water for the marketing. Actually, if you can, send them emails or text messages, whatever that may be, spring clean, spring tree pruning, fall tree, whatever that may be, just having that database in place. That's what you guys are going to help them build. So I think that's awesome. It's invaluable. This has been great information, because I think a lot of people think of just those cut rate phone answering companies that don't have any personality, and there's no personal reference to what you've spoke about before, or the good old fashioned customer service just doesn't come into play. Right. And that's where you guys are going to come here. And I think it would be great. Well, good. This has been awesome. It's been educational. I think people are going to get a lot of value out of this. So let them know really quick where they can go. And then I think you mentioned the website earlier. Maybe you can repeat that one more time, and then who to contact. And then, we'll let people call you.
It is www.pinkcollars.com, PINKCALLERS. And again, my name is Doug. You can email me directly, Doug@pinkcollars.com. I don't hide from anybody. I talk to hundreds of people a week, and I love having that conversation. So reach out, call our number. You can email me, visit our website, contact form. We'll walk you through everything. We can do one-on-one Zoom calls. I want to just get down to it and figure out how we can help, because really that's what it's all about, just helping people. That's what we want to do.
Absolutely. And I think it just helps them be that much head and shoulders above the other local tree companies, that they have that good old fashioned customer service, people calling them, scheduling, touching base a lot more often, building that database, just having a more friendly attitude and approach. So I think it's great. Thank you guys so much for your time today. If you guys are watching this podcast and you're on YouTube, again, go ahead and click to subscribe to our channel. If you're on the podcast, listening to the audio, subscribe to the podcast player that you're listening to. And we'll be back soon with more episodes of expert interviews and different digital marketing topics. And want to thank you so much, guys. Doug and Michelle from pinkcollars.com. Reach out to Doug if you want to talk to him about services or get a quote, or just talk about what you want to do with your business. And I'm sure they'll be happy to help you there. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you so much, Wes. Thanks.
Thank you.